You ever watch someone walk out of a marriage and realize the person stepping into the world is no longer the one who went in? It's a strange kind of rebirth, the kind that doesn't come with tears, but with a silence so heavy it feels like the world is holding its breath. Because the truth no one says out loud is this: a divorce doesn't just end a relationship, it kills a version of her. And the woman who rises after that isn't soft, isn't searching for comfort. She's searching for fire. There's a moment right after the papers are signed when something inside her breaks, but not in the way people think. It's not the kind of breaking that weakens a person. It's the kind that frees them. Years of silence, years of shrinking herself to fit into the life she built, years of being needed but never truly seen. All of it collapses at once. And when the dust settles, she's left with an emptiness she can finally feel. An emptiness she refuses to fill with the same quiet that once suffocated her. Most men expect her to seek safety, but safety is the very thing that drained her in the first place. After the divorce, she doesn't look for peace. She looks for the pulse she lost. She looks for the man who reminds her she's still alive, not because he's right for her, but because he wakes up the part of her she buried to survive. And brother, that's where the real story begins. Number 1. What awakens in her? There's a moment after the divorce when something in her changes. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. It's subtle, almost invisible, like the way the air shifts before a storm rolls in. You can't see the storm yet, but you feel the pressure. You feel the way the world holds its breath. That's her. Not broken, not lost, just changing shape. She starts doing small things differently, things you wouldn't notice unless you knew the woman she used to be. She pauses longer before answering questions. She looks people in the eye a second too long. She laughs in a way that doesn't sound polite anymore. It sounds real, like something she forgot she was capable of. She wears something she never wore before, even if it's just a shirt with a deeper cut or a color she once said didn't suit her. It's not rebellion, it's resurrection. Men think she's trying to prove something. Prove she's still attractive. Prove she's okay. Prove she can start over. But the truth is quieter than that. She isn't trying to prove anything. She's trying to remember. Remember who she was before the years softened her voice and tightened her chest. Before she learned to walk around someone else's comfort. Before she spent so much time being needed that she forgot what it felt like to want. That's the part most men never see, the emptiness that forms inside a woman long before the marriage ends. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow erosion, a fading, a quiet kind of dying. And once she steps out, once she realizes she can finally breathe without permission, that emptiness demands to be filled. Not with love, not with promises, with life. And that's where he comes in, the man nobody expects. The one her friends warn her about. The one every guy rolls his eyes at and assumes is just a phase. They're right, but they're also blind. Because he's not a phase. He's the part of herself she's reclaiming through him. He's unpredictable in a way she finds intoxicating. He texts her when he feels like it and disappears when he doesn't. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't soften his edges. He doesn't pretend to be anything other than what he is, a man who lives by instinct instead of obligation. And she finds that irresistible. Not because he's good for her, but because he reminds her of the version of herself she once silenced. It's not his tattoos or his recklessness or the stories he carries like old battle scars. It's the way he exists without apology. She looks at him and sees the freedom she once had to negotiate out of her own life. He's not an upgrade. He's a mirror. The rawest one she's ever looked into. And here's the part most men struggle to swallow. She's not choosing him instead of them. She's choosing the fire instead of the quiet. She's choosing sensation over sober safety. She's choosing the version of herself she betrayed when she settled for a life that didn't require her whole heart. A woman doesn't step into chaos because she wants to be saved. She steps into chaos because it's the only thing loud enough to drown out years of silence. And brother, you can judge her for it, or you can understand her. Only one of those choices makes you stronger. The other just keeps you blind. She doesn't want the danger because it's danger. She wants it because it reminds her she's still human. And deep down, if we're being honest, every man knows what that feels like. Number 2, why she sleeps with him first. What most men don't realize is that the first man she reaches for after the divorce isn't chosen the way you choose a partner. There's no list, no logic, no long-term plan. He isn't the type she introduces to her family. He's not the kind she brings to holiday dinners or posts on social media. He's something else entirely, a force, not a future. He appears in her life like a match struck in the dark. Quick, hot, unexpected. And for the first time in years, she feels that spark hit something inside her that had gone quiet. It's not love. It's not even romance. It's ignition. This man, he lives outside the calm she used to inhabit. He doesn't follow the rules she lived by for so long. He doesn't wait, or apologize, or ask for permission to exist. He's rough around the edges in ways her old life would never have allowed. The kind of man who carries his past openly, without shame, like scars he doesn't bother to hide. And that's what draws her, not the danger itself, but the honesty of it. He is exactly who he is. No disguises, no careful tone, no calculated behavior. After years of living beside a man who felt safe but emotionally absent, being around someone unfiltered feels like oxygen after holding her breath for too long. Men always ask, why him? But the answer is simple. He embodies the parts of life she had to suppress to survive the marriage. Where her ex was steady, this man is wild. Where her ex was predictable, he's impulsive. Where her ex avoided depth, he dives straight into it without hesitation. She doesn't fall for him. She falls into herself through him. He doesn't soothe her pain. He awakens her hunger. He's the doorway to the version of her she abandoned. The version that laughed from the chest, that wanted without guilt, that felt desire without negotiating it down to something polite. He doesn't repair her. He reminds her, and deep down, she knows he won't last. She knows he's not the man she builds a life with, but she also knows he's the man she needed to meet in order to start living again. The first man after the divorce isn't the destination. He's the shock to the system, the fire that tells her she's still alive. And if this truth hit you somewhere deep, brother, take a moment to do me a small favor. Hit like, subscribe, and share this message. Your simple action can help more people who are struggling with this issue find the content they need. Thank you for being a part of this. Number 3, the quiet rebellion. And after divorce, the truth about this stage isn't written on her face, it lives underneath it, in the quiet choices she makes when no one is watching. The danger isn't the new man in her life, it's the part of herself she finally let out of the cage. For years, she swallowed words, softened edges, silenced instincts just to keep the peace. Now that the marriage is over, the silence she used to protect has turned into a hunger she can't ignore. And the rebellion she never allowed herself starts moving through her in small, deliberate ways. It's in the way she talks differently, not loud, just freer. It's in the way she walks, not rushed, just finally without permission. She's not trying to hurt anyone. She's trying to breathe. And you'll notice something else, something subtle but impossible to unsee once you catch it. She doesn't look back for approval anymore. When she speaks, there's no checking the room, no scanning for reactions. The weight she carried for years, the responsibility to keep everyone comfortable, everyone steady, everyone safe. She's done with that. It's not cruelty. It's the cost of being alive again. And every man who's ever rebuilt himself from ashes knows exactly what that feels like, the moment when survival becomes freedom, and freedom becomes fire. What she doesn't tell anyone is that the wildfire inside her isn't about the man she's seeing. It's about the life she lost inside the marriage, the version of herself she buried because she thought being a good partner meant being a quiet one. Now she's tasting the parts she gave up. And there's a danger to that, not because she's reckless, but because she finally realizes how small she once made herself. Once a person notices how small they had to live, they don't go back. This is the part men misread. They see the new behavior, the new energy, the new intensity, and they think she's acting out. But she isn't acting out. She's acting true. She's acting like a woman who remembers what it feels like to want something without guilt. She's acting like someone who finally stopped apologizing for existing. And it's here, brother, in this quiet, burning rebellion, where the story shifts. She's not moving away from the past anymore. She's moving into herself. Every choice she makes from this point forward isn't about who she left. It's about who she's becoming. This is where the wildness stops being a reaction and starts becoming a direction. She's not lost. She's transforming. And transformation never whispers. It echoes. Number 4. The man who shakes her soul. What happens next isn't planned, and it sure as hell isn't gentle. It's the moment when her newfound freedom slams straight into the kind of man she once would have never touched. Not because he's perfect, he's far from it, but because he carries the same raw honesty she's trying to rediscover inside herself. When they meet, it doesn't feel like meeting someone new. It feels like running into a version of life she thought she had missed out on. And that collision, brother, it hits harder than most men ever realize. She doesn't fall for him. She falls into the space he opens up inside her. He doesn't ask her to be smaller, doesn't ask her to quiet down, doesn't ask her to earn softness with obedience. He wants nothing from her except the truth. And for a woman who spent years managing someone else's comfort, this feels like a shock to the system. He lives by instinct, by impulse, by that wild inner compass she once hid because it didn't fit the home she built. Standing near him feels like standing near the part of herself she abandoned, the part with fire in the eyes, not fear. And here's what makes their connection so intense. He doesn't handle her carefully. Not in a cruel way, but in a way that refuses to treat her like something fragile. He sees the cracks, the fire, the anger, the grief, and he doesn't flinch. He doesn't fix her because he isn't trying to be her future. He just exists with her in the moment. And sometimes, that's more intimate than promises. Their conversations aren't deep, but they're honest. Their nights together aren't romantic, but they're real. And real is something she hasn't felt in years. The danger isn't him. The danger is what she feels standing next to him. The awakening, the intensity, the sudden clarity that she has been living at half volume for far too long. He isn't the cause of her transformation. He's the mirror that reflects what she's becoming. And being with him is like pressing a bruise, painful but alive. A reminder that numbness was never safety, just a slow forgetting. This is why their connection burns fast. Not because it's doomed, but because it's meant to break something open inside her. He is the impact she needed, the collision her old life never allowed. And brother, once a woman remembers she's capable of burning, she doesn't go back to being cold. Number 5. The one thing men never see coming after she leaves. What comes next is the part that blindsides most men, not because it's complicated, but because it's too simple. They look at the guy she's with, they look at themselves, and they start comparing. What does he have that I don't? What did I miss? Where did I fall short? But the truth slips right past them, quiet and clean. It was never about him. It was never a competition between two men. It was a collision between her past and the part of herself she abandoned to survive it. The man she chooses after the divorce isn't a replacement. He isn't the upgrade or the revenge or the fantasy. He's the key that unlocks a room inside her she forgot how to enter. He speaks to her hunger, not her history. And it's the hunger that drives her choices now, not logic, not stability, not the polite version of love she once forced herself to accept. A woman doesn't crave safety after years of emotional numbness. She craves the feeling of being fully awake. This is the truth men never expect. She doesn't want him because he's better. She wants him because he reminds her she's alive. Everything she lost in the marriage, the spontaneity, the rawness, the spark, she feels it again through him. Not because he gives it to her, but because he reflects it back. He is the embodiment of everything she silenced. The part that laughed too loud, wanted too deeply, dreamed too wildly. The part that needed more than a predictable life could ever offer. Being near him doesn't heal her. It exposes her. And in that exposure, she feels something she hasn't felt in years herself. Men see her intensity and assume she's in love. But love isn't what drives her. It's liberation. It's the first breath after being underwater for too long. It's the shock of oxygen hitting starving lungs. This man, with all his unpredictability and rough edges, is the jolt that tells her she's not dead inside anymore. And here's the quiet sting by the time she reaches him. The relationship isn't about the past at all. It's about the future she hasn't learned how to name yet. It's about stepping away from the version of herself who settled, who softened, who stayed silent. He is the boundary between who she was and who she is becoming. The truth men never expect is that she doesn't choose him over them. She chooses the woman she becomes when she stands next to him. And brother, once she feels that version of herself, nothing in her life will remain the same. Number 6. When the fire fades. There comes a moment, and it always comes when the fire that once kept her alive begins to settle. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just a quiet shift. The same way a storm fades without anyone noticing the exact moment the rain stopped. The intensity that once felt like resurrection starts to feel different, heavier, almost like a truth she's finally ready to face. Because even though he awakened her, he was never meant to stay. Some people enter your life with the heat of a match, not the weight of a foundation. And deep down, she always knew he was one of them. The connection doesn't collapse. It dissolves, a slow releasing, not out of anger, not out of disappointment, but out of clarity. She begins to see him not as the answer, but as the threshold, the man who showed her what she'd forgotten, not the man who could walk with her after she remembered it. His unpredictability, once intoxicating, now feels like a place she's already outgrown. His distance, once exciting, now reminds her of the emptiness she left behind. The wildness she chased was never his to give. It was always hers, waiting to be claimed. And he feels this shift too, not in words, but in the way she pulls away from the parts of him that no longer serve her becoming. He was drawn to her chaos, but now she's stepping into something steadier. Not the old silence, not the old self-sacrifice, but a calm that comes from a woman who finally remembers her strength. The more she stands in that strength, the less she needs him to feel alive. This is the part men misunderstand the most. They think she leaves him heartbroken, but she doesn't leave with a wound, she leaves with a revelation. What she found through him wasn't love. It was resurrection. And resurrection doesn't tie you to the person who witnessed it. It ties you to the version of yourself you thought you'd lost. When the fire burns out, she doesn't feel empty. She feels opened, clear, whole in a way she hasn't been in years. He wasn't the man she wanted forever with. He was the man she needed to walk away from in order to meet herself again. And brother, that's the quiet power of this entire journey. Some flames aren't meant to warm you. They're meant to burn away who you no longer are. When the fire inside her finally settles, she doesn't walk out burned. She walks out clear. There's a calm around her now, the kind that only comes after someone has faced everything they were afraid to admit. She doesn't rush. She doesn't explain. She just carries herself with the quiet certainty of someone who knows she survived her own ending. The wildness she found with him hasn't disappeared. It's simply shifted inward, tempered into something steadier, something that no longer demands chaos to feel alive. She doesn't crave intensity anymore. She craves truth, and she no longer accepts a life that asks her to shrink to fit inside it. People mistake her clarity for coldness, but she's not cold. She's honest. Honest with what she wants, what she'll walk toward, and what she'll never tolerate again. The man who awakened her doesn't understand this part. He thinks she left because the fire died. But she left because she finally didn't need his flame to see herself. So she moves forward not harder, just more real. She chooses differently now. She listens to herself first. And for the first time in a long time, she's not rebuilding from fear. She's rebuilding from freedom. Brother, if you've ever watched a woman rise like that, or if you feel yourself standing at your own turning point, remember this: rebirth doesn't ask for permission. It asks for honesty. If you want the rest of this journey, the parts men rarely talk about, tell me. Brother, continue. Thank you for being here. Brother, every word we share here is a reminder that calm doesn't mean weak, and silence doesn't mean lost. If this resonated with you, stay a while. Reflect. Listen. Let it settle. We're building something real, a quiet brotherhood built on truth, not noise. See you in the next video where we keep walking this path together.